Welcome back. We're going to start setting up Postgres on our computer so that just like we did with servers and front end, we're going to have a terminal that's running our front end and a back end that is running our server, but also another terminal that is running a database. Because as you remember, these are just computers running somewhere. In the same way that we ran our server on our computer, we can also run our database on our computer. And in this video, we're going to get us set up with Postgres. Now, MongoDB has gotten popular. However, nothing beats a relational database for really developing your knowledge of databases. Once you understand relational databases, it gives you really, really good tools and mental models to work with MongoDB. MongoDB is very, very simple. You can think of it as a JSON data structure, where we just have JSON that looks like an object and we store that information there. With SQL and relational databases, it's more complex than that. So if you understand this, you are miles ahead when it comes to understanding databases. So we're going to be focusing on that because the principles are still the same for MongoDB. All right, so let's get Postgres set up on our computer. The first thing we want to do is download something called a GUI, so a graphical user interface, for Postgres. And this exists for pretty much any database out there. I like PSQL because it's free. It's really, really good for Mac, and it's very light and simple. I'll also make sure to add notes on how to download something like this and Postgres in general if you're using a Windows machine. But otherwise, just click on the download link. It'll be completely fast. Just open it up and you'll have something like this that I'm going to be using throughout the course. But there's many, many options and you can take a look for it. You just search for PostgreSQL GUI. And once you have PSQL installed, you'll have it in your application folder and you can follow along. Now let's go back to the terminal. In order to have Postgres installed, there's many, many ways. And again, I'll provide some notes on how you can do it. But the best way, especially on Mac, is to use Brew, which we've already talked about. Every time you do something with Homebrew, again, it's a way to download packages from the internet on your terminal. You always want to make sure that you do a Brew update to make sure that everything is updated. And also a Brew Doctor, which just makes sure everything is working on your system. Let's clear that. Perfect. Once you have that set up, we're going to just say brew install PostgreSQL. And this will install for us Postgres. And you see over here that I already have Postgres installed, but if it's your first time, it'll run through the commands and then actually at the end tell you exactly how to start using it. But in our case, I'll just tell you. It'll be much easier. To start Postgres, you need to do brew services start Postgres. And don't worry, this isn't Postgres specific. Any database that you're downloading, you're essentially downloading the software, and then you want to start the service. Each one has its own commands, but it's as simple as Googling and figuring out how to run the database. So we've started PostgreSQL. It looks like I've already started the service. And just to show you, if I actually do stop here, it will stop the Postgres service. And let's do start again. And you can see that it's starting. Now, in order for us to use Postgres, we need to create a database. And the way we do that is to use the create DB command that has come once we've installed Postgres. And here we can call it whatever we want. So let's call it test. It's going to create the DB, and there you go. Here's the cool part. If I go back to my PSQL, open this up, let me close this. I have over here PSQL, and it asks for the host, which is the link to where the database is located. In my case, it's located at my local host, right? It's running on my computer. So you want it to be localhost, and the port number, this is the default port number of 5432. Remember how we had port 3000 and 3001 for the front end and back end? It's similar to that. It's opening up a port for it to listen to the database. And this is the standard port for Postgres that you'll see. So when I did the started Postgres and create DB, the default of 5432 was already set. I can actually set what port and change it up, but we want to keep everything standard, so we'll keep it the way it is. If I now go to the database and we called it test, so again, we'll do test database, hit connect. All right, we're connected to the database, but there's not much in here, is there? But at least we know that we're connected to localhost test. And another way to connect to this, remember this is a GUI, a graphical user interface. And I'm showing you this because it's really good for demo purposes, but I want you to get comfortable working with the terminal as well. In order to do the same thing we just did with the GUI, we can type in PSQL, again, which is a command that we'll get when we install Postgres. And we'll say which database we want to connect to. In our case, it'll be the test. And there you go. Just like when we run node and it changes terminals, now we're inside of Postgres that's running on our computer. But we don't know any commands yet, do we? So in the next video, we're going to learn some SQL commands and finally create some tables in our Postgres database. I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye.